Welcome back to the Make It Count podcast.
I'm Marcus Mire, founder of Mire Group CPAs and the Total Control Accounting System.
And I'm Tyler Warner, small business owner with a lot of accounting questions. Today's episode, Marcus is going to outline 4 apps he prescribes to every business.
That's right. And I think we might go a little off the deep end here if we start talking about apps and why we use them. And
who knows, folks? You might get 5, 6, maybe even 7.
Might go crazy.
All for the price of 1.
That's right.
Or 4.
Yeah, so we hear it. I mean, you hear this terminology a lot when you hear, especially now in this day and age, like, what's your tech stack, right? Mm-hmm. And so we think a lot about that internally and here. But to your point, we've got for every business. So we try to, when you and I were talking about this, we try to come up with things that kind of fit every business, right? There's some ones that we could add on for specialty type needs and that sort of thing. But these, if you're going to run a smooth, efficient, cloud-based virtual business that allows you to do your accounting on the beach, right, Tyler?
Right, that's fundamental.
That's like a core. Yeah. We think these are the 4. So let's start at the top. For us, it's Xero. That's Xero. Mm-hmm. And you're probably thinking, what the hell is Xero? And it's like,
or if you've been listening, probably not.
If you're a loyal listener, which, by the way, I think you told me we have 800 downloads.
Over 800.
Over 800. So before you pat us too much on the back, that could be 40 people that have downloaded all 20 episodes.
Right.
But it's 800 nonetheless.
Or 700 people giving us a shot.
That's right. We hope. Yeah. I'm not sure which I hope it is. So anyway, Xero is a cloud-based accounting solution. If you listen to the podcast, you've heard me talk about it. We love it, quite honestly. I would say this about Xero. I'll give you kind of the backstory. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I forget how I stumbled across it, but it's my wife laughs at me. She says, you're a marketer's dream, because marketing and branding, probably the reason I like it so much, catches my eye and gets me. Xero just has a good, crisp, clean look. And you've used it. If you've used it before, you kind of get the sense that it's not overwhelming, but it's not underwhelming at the same point. But it's an accounting software. It's a cloud-based accounting software that changed my practice 4 to 5 years ago, in the sense that it allowed me to collaborate, which was the missing piece. When I started thinking about how I do business with clients, there was a friction of, hey, let me send you this file. Let me back it up. I'm going to give you QuickBooks, and maybe you don't have the right version or you don't know the password. For me, those were all barriers to do good work. And so Xero kind of eliminated that. And so, the competitor to Xero would be QuickBooks Online. That's kind of, everybody knows QuickBooks Desktop, which you buy to store, QuickBooks Online being their cloud product. But we love Xero. We think it's a better product. I would say it's more user-friendly. But the beauty of it is, which most cloud software are going to do, is that it pulls your data in. And so when I say that, what I mean is, well, the first thing we do when we set up a Xero file is we connect it to your bank and your credit cards. The nice thing about that is the data starts flowing in. And what I mean by that is, I think everybody can relate to the days of when they were doing their, you hear somebody say, I'm doing my accounting. What they mean is they're doing the data entry. They've got their bank statement or online banking on one screen and they're keying in the transactions. Well, Xero eliminates that, because it pulls in the transactions for you. They're queued up, and then you can either create them somewhat like entering them, or let rule-based functionality in the software code them appropriately. And it's getting better daily with machine learning. It starts to predict. And so for us, and the reason Xero caught my eye, again, was the look. But that bank reconciliation or bank feed function, for me, it was just like a light bulb. It was like, oh my God, we can take tasks that used to take 2, 3, 4 hours and shrink them down into 20, 30 minutes. And so that's kind of where we started with Xero. And then since we've grown in it, we've just gotten to love the ability to connect to it. And so again, because it's a cloud-based solution, other software, Xero vets out other software providers and says, if you meet certain criteria, that you can connect to them. And what that means is you can share data between the two.
Right.
And a software we'll get into in a minute, which is Gusto, payroll solution. But Gusto connects seamlessly to Xero and sends your payroll data over.
Yeah.
So you can think in terms of the world's kind of shifting, where you used to have these more parochial type players, like QuickBooks wouldn't allow anybody into their software because they wanted to have the keys to payroll and inventory. Now you're starting to see a shift of a software like Xero, which does a lot of things really well, but they don't focus on everything. Well, they allow other software to come in and integrate because, say, Gusto, Gusto only cares about payroll. That's all they do every day. That's all they think about. So they do it better, right? Xero has a payroll product that didn't go over well. They scrapped it in the US. And so now they allow for integration. So my point in that all is that with that cloud-based solution, we love that. We love the fact that we can integrate. I mean, another product we'll talk about in a minute, G Suite. Xero, you can send your reports to Google Drive. You can create a Google Sheet on the fly. You can say, take that P&L and create a Google Sheet with it. Just the ability to collaborate, connect. We love that. And then one thing I hadn't even talked about, which I'm starting to try to pitch clients on to use it more, and I talked about this yesterday in a live video, is the Xero app. So record keeping, big thing. I had a client that got audited, and I don't know if people know this, but if you get audited, generally the burden of proof is on you. The government says, we're disallowing these deductions, prove us wrong, basically.
Okay.
And so what's nice about a Xero app is that you go to lunch with a client. You scribble the name across the top. I had lunch with Tyler Werner, discuss the podcast, snap a picture of that receipt in the Xero app. Probably, I'm not kidding, 20 seconds tops. That transaction is now recorded in Xero, so the accounting's done. No more Friday afternoons, got to sit and do the data. The accounting's done. The receipt is attached. So you get audited, and they say, show me all your meals transactions. Easy. Got them right here. And the receipts are attached. So like, we're really starting to get clients to start to use that app. They can do the, like I mentioned, they can record receipts. They can invoice. They can send, I mean, it's crazy. Like they can reconcile. So that reconciling I'm talking about, that was what got me into Xero. You can do it on the app. John, I had John the other day write he texted me. He goes, dude, I've got like a testimonial for you on the Xero app. He was like, I was at the DMV. No, where was it? At the auto dealership, dealing something with his title. And he said, I had 30 minutes to kill. And I'm like, what am I going to do? He said, I popped up my phone and started reconciling transactions. Just like those little things. I mean, like obviously that's not, your ideal Saturday afternoon.
Well, it's not if you're at the beach. If you're at the DMV,
right?
Fair play.
That's right. So he made use of his time. So anyway, full circle is that we love Xero. We love the Xero app. And for us, we're just building upon that foundation. For clients that work with us, which is really the preferred software, and any new client, that's where we're going to bring you. We're now building training videos. So we use Loom. I should have added Loom in that list too, by the way.
Yeah,
Loom is
more to come.
Loom's a screen share software we use a ton, which is basically just records what's happening on your screen with a voiceover. So for now, for all of our accounting clients, whether they are in what we call DIY assisted, where it's you do your accounting and we look over your shoulder, or it's full service where we handle it, we've got training videos available.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of married a bunch of software in there, but Xero being the crux of everything we do here at Mire Group and what we tell our clients as a best practice to kind of get their accounting together.
Yeah. And I would say Xero is a good tool. I mean, there's a reason it's like the foundation of the total control accounting system, which is like record phase.
Yep.
And without Xero, I think that's a bigger ask, Yeah.
Well, you can't meet the collab. You can't, what's the third? The third
so
C is
collab. Consistency and then collaboration.
You can't have collaboration.
Yeah. But I would even say, comparing it to QuickBooks, you can, and I haven't been on QuickBooks Online, or I don't know if they have a mobile app, but
yeah.
With Xero, it's like you said, I mean, you pull up the mobile app and you can be more consistent.
Yeah.
If you do, because it's available, you could decide, hey, I'm just going to do this, but in between when I'm stuck at the DMV, waiting in the car rider line to pick up a kid,
that's a good point.
Whatever, you could decide to do it then,
right?
And just keep up with it that way. So you can't be more consistent, just because there's a lower barrier of entry,
that's a good point. Yeah, you mentioned the total control accounting system. For us, that's fundamental. It's like the first step when you come to us, generally, is a cleanup, and another C we had thrown in there is generally a conversion. So it's like you're on QuickBooks Desktop, okay, we're going to move you off. And so for us, like a lot of clients, like that may be a reason they either would or wouldn't work with us. But for us, we kind of know, like, no, you need to get to that last step, which is collaboration, and you're never going to do it with a desktop software. Mm-hmm. And then the point you just made, I hadn't thought of, is Xero's giving you more opportunities to be consistent.
Right.
First of all, it's 24/7 access, many users as you want, cloud-based and mobile driven. So right then and there, you're already got some keys to be set up to be consistent, and you add to that our service. Like I said, what we have is called a DIY assisted service, where we literally put in your Teamwork, which is our project management software account, all these training videos that we've done on Loom.
Yeah.
And just like you're set up for success now. Yeah.
And I'll say this, there's been maybe one time I've needed a training video. Most of it's pretty intuitive. You know what I mean? There was maybe one thing where I was like, and I was reconciling something that was like,
I wonder if it was the payroll, the first time we did the payroll in there. I can't remember, but I don't know. Yeah.
But the point of that was just to say, I know the training videos are nice to have, but don't get the impression that, this is something that's...
No, this isn't brain surgery.
Right.
For us, the training videos are just like refreshers. It's like, oh, I was doing this. I remember how to do it. And you click it. Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about something that affects most business owners, payroll. And so for us, Gusto is our payroll provider. I don't even think we have another one. I think we have a couple clients who are on QuickBooks Desktop, just kind of legacy. But for us, any chance we get, we want to move you to Gusto. And the reason for that is similar to Xero. So obviously a cloud-based solution. You're going to hear that a lot from us. That's all we use. And we think that's kind of best practice. But Gusto, man, they just keep innovating. And so I've said this before. I can give the analogy. I think people will get this. If you're in a small business, you want to look the part. And I think a lot of these cloud apps give you the ability at a small scale to look like a big boy business. And so I always give this example. I think it's great. Like when our interns, Sarah's our intern now, when she started, before she even came, like she had an onboarding email. Like, hey, and by the way, if you want to in Gusto, which we didn't, we had already told her what we're going to pay her. But you want to send offer letters and start the process that way. You want to send employment agreements. They all then can turn into an onboarding engagement. So you can start the whole process like, here's your offer letter. If you accept it, now we're going to move it into an onboarding. But my point is with Sarah, hey, we onboarded you. She goes in, she completes her information, her W-4, federal withholding, puts in her bank account and all that for direct deposit, tells us a little bit about herself. So she told, I think one of the things I asked is what's your favorite snack? On her first day, we had it for her. And I know it sounds kind of like trivial, but for us, and I think for any business, when you're trying to build a culture and family kind of atmosphere, and you're trying to make it a place like you're with your employee, you're with your team more than you're with your family a lot. Like you want to start off on the right foot and you want to build that. So for us, I loved having the ability to know what her favorite snack was. We had it sitting there for her. Mm-hmm. Just added that layer of formality. Like these guys have their act together, and it's not me. I wouldn't left to me. I would have never thought let's have a checklist and think of that stuff.
Or just you wouldn't have been able to even get there,
right?
Because you would have been buried in other things.
Doing other stuff.
That's my perspective of Gusto, is that it's finally, I don't have to worry about things I never wanted to worry about to begin with.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an unfortunate bar for Gusto, because it's like, man, they're doing a ton of innovation that you're just finally like, oh, I don't want to care about that anyway.
I know. I mean, it's crazy. Like I'm looking at some of their stuff right now on their website, like PTO. I mean, you set your firm holidays in Gusto, and you tell it to recur, and then you set your PTO policy, and then people just request off. And literally, I get an email that says, John has requested off, and he tells me what he's doing is click OK, versus sliding me a paper across my desk, review it, put in his employee file, all these little tools.
Yeah, or some people, like I remember when I first started my business, I had no clue how to do all that. This was before we came up with okay, these are going to be our days off or whatever.
Yeah.
And it just being like this awkward, hey man,
are we off today?
Yeah, this is coming around the corner. Is it?
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah. And quickly Google employee days off. How's this work?
Right. No, they do a great job of it.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I'm also thinking of just the scalability. Like my wife's business, she hires.
She's
probably,
not Gusto, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm wondering, so I'm thinking of her and a few other businesses that hire seasonally. Mm-hmm. She has some pretty high shipping demands during the later end of the year, where she might pay 10, 15 people part-time, maybe not that many, but anyway, just onboarding them could be very quick and easy,
Yeah. No, it's super easy. I mean, literally just a couple steps. Like there's only a few things you need. You need their name, their pay rate, and their email address.
Yeah.
And then from there, they do the rest, which if you're thinking about it, you would rather do.
Yeah.
Because think about it. It's another step for you to handle. Nobody's going to be upset that you've said, I need you to enter your banking information.
Right.
It's a best practice.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. People may not realize if they're not familiar with Gusto, every employee has their own account with Gusto. So you are able to go in if you need to upload a document, a driver's, whatever it might be. You go and do it there. So it does eliminate this like middleman
Correct.
Of like, hey, I need your X, Y, and Z for accounting or whatever it might be. It's all seamless in the app, and it tells you. I mean, it is kind of cool. Like check mark, you got this completed or whatever.
Well, how about the old? I'm buying a house. I need my last 5 pay stubs.
Yeah.
Like you have an account. Like you made the point that I wasn't even thinking about. As an employee, you have a Gusto account. You get certain emails throughout the year. It's like, hey, your W-2s are ready. Download it. Like, how many people here listen to this podcast can resonate with I've got to hand out the W-2s. I've got to mail the W-2s. Oh, wait, so-and-so in the middle of the year left. I forgot to change their address. Like, that's all done.
Yeah.
Like, Gusto handles that. And then kind of piggybacking off that concept of if you have an account, Gusto has this thing called Gusto Wallet now. Gusto starts allowing you with their app to hold money with them to use for certain functions. But this is really cool. And John at our office, I'm pointing to him like people can see. John did this the other day. He said, I wanted to try it out. It's called oh my God, I'm losing the name of the term. It's basically an advance. What are they called? A
payday loan?
Yeah, Gusto will advance you. So like, it is discreet. I never knew about it. He said, I wanted to see what it would do. He's like, he said I did $100 just to see it. Here's what happens. You as an employee, because you have an account, can go in and request. It's called Gusto Cash Out. You can say, give me $500. Gusto knows because they have your payroll data, what you normally make, how far in the payroll period you are. Have you accrued $500? They direct deposit it in 2 days. And then they handle, this is the beauty of this, because if you're listening and you have an employee advance, you know how annoying this is to track. So-and-so is $500. I've got to take 100 back from them for 5 paychecks. No. Gusto gave the employee the ability to do it. Nobody knew about it. So a discreet, an advance is not something an employee, I promise you, wants to come ask you for.
Sure.
Now it's discreet. I never knew about it. It didn't cost me a thing. It didn't cost John a thing.
Really?
Again, he didn't need it. He said, I wanted to try it out.
Yeah. Now, does it come with like interest or?
Nothing.
No. Okay.
Nothing.
Wow.
And so
now, do you have a limit as an employer to back that?
I have no responsibility for it. Gusto takes all the liability. They basically have protocols in place that can get the money back from you. So they have your bank account, right? So if they needed to, they could draft your bank account. But the thinking is, we're just going to take it from your next paycheck.
Yeah.
And so my guess is, I didn't ask John, my guess is they sent him communication about that. Hey, did you know you're about to get paid? We're going to draft it from you.
And I wonder too if there's limits, like if if they check this bank account.
Right.
And I mean, you can literally do that. Some apps will give you those loans based on, like, okay, well, we have access to your bank account. We can see, like,
right. We see your average daily balance.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I do know it's
that's crazy.
Pretty slick. And just another way, like, to help your staff.
Yeah. The point of it is, I think you could boil it down as like literally with one app you sign up for and you're light years ahead of, like, you have basically, I'm trying to think of all these things that you're mentioning were like things that just sort of snowballed on me over like years of being in business, where I had never, like, day one, I hadn't considered, oh, what am I going to do about paid time off? Or what am I going to do about, paycheck advance? Or what am I going to, how's this all going to work?
Well, how about this one? Let me throw another one in there. How about a garnishment? How about an employee has to pay child support? We realized, I didn't know this, Gusto makes that payment on your behalf. You tell them the agency you got to pay. They take the money out. They pay it. So if you've ever had to do garnishments, it's like sales tax.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the government's money. Like, they've said, we're the middleman to pay child support to this party. Yeah. We need you to handle it. You don't have to handle it anymore.
Yeah.
So then I could go on and on and on. Gusto, the workers' comp insurance. you've ever been through the pain of a workers' comp audit, where so workers' comp works like this: you pay it in advance. So let's just say your premium's $12,000, and that's based on $100,000 of payroll. Well, if your payroll goes up to $150,000, basically a 50% increase, at the end of the payroll period, they say we should have taken $18,000 from you, so we need $6,000. That surprises people.
Yeah.
Just think about when you do your insurance. You're not thinking, let me think about this monthly.
Sure,
Payroll. You just pay it.
Right.
What happens is you get a $6,000 audit. You're like, God, dog it.
Yeah.
Well, Gusto, if you work with their workers' comp insurance, it's a pay-as-you-go system. They have your payroll data. So the minute your payroll started to tick up, they would increase your premiums.
Yeah.
So while you might not like the increased premium, you sure like it better than a $6,000 adjustment.
Right. And everything you just said, if you're like me and you're listening, you're just like, what the heck are you talking about? But the reality is you've had stuff like that happen.
Yeah.
Like that conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know that I was like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Right.
But like, it's all this stuff that you're just like, God dang, I can't catch a break.
I know.
Like there's always something.
Right. A notice I'm getting, a letter.
Exactly.
You gotta deal with it.
And like I've had in the past, like you'll give me some explanation, like, yeah, well, you see, this agency decided every Tuesday they mark it up 3%, and then it's like retroactive 80 years. And like, and it's like, and now's the day you have to pay it. And everybody that's an accountant knows that except for you. And so I'm like,
I will say this. The one downside of Gusto is that all that stuff you just said that goes away, you don't know that until you experience the other side of it.
Right.
So if you had an accountant that didn't use these services, you would be like, you may not think it's their fault. It wouldn't be their fault. The workers' comp audit would, but it wouldn't be fun to get the $6,000 bill.
Yeah.
In this case, you never get it. So I'm giving you this service that you don't even know that you're getting.
That's what I was saying about at the beginning. Is like Gusto's tackled all the problems you didn't even know you had.
Right.
And like are always aggravating to pay for.
Right.
You know, whenever they do.
I know.
As a business owner, you're just thinking, this is not, I have to pay more. And then even to sort it out, if you pay a CPA, you know,
you got to pay him.
Yeah. And so you're like, man, I'm just paying for compliance that I didn't even know,
Correct.
You know, so it's compounded aggravation.
Right.
That a simple app can help you avoid.
Yeah. And I'm looking here at the kind of the Gusto, they're talking about when unexpected happens, get cash instantly. It's talking about the Gusto cash out. So their website's got great tools on this.
Yeah.
Got the ability to split your paycheck into multiple. I mean, I think up to, I want to say 4 accounts, might even be more. Like, so if you're kind of on that profit first kind of method, like I want my paycheck into 7 different accounts. I said 4. Maybe it's not 4, but you get the point. Right. Time tracking. We haven't mentioned that. You think, you know, I've heard people say like, man, I just wish like I had a simple time tracking app. Like I know my employees, like I tell them they only get a 45-minute or hour lunch break, but I know they're taking longer. Gusto's got a little simple time tracking.
Yeah.
So Gusto, highly recommend it. Plugs right into Xero, sends the payroll data over. Like, in fact, when you're in Xero, you click payroll and it brings you to your Gusto account.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a seamless deal.
Yeah.
We love it.
So those are the heavy hitters.
Those are the big 2, I would say. If you're going to be in business, you got to have them.
Yeah. All right. Hit us with the last 2.
All right. 1Password. So I hadn't used I don't think until about, I think everybody uses password managers, kind of. Like you've got a spreadsheet that's password protected or something like that. But so a password manager is what you think. It's basically a vault, a highly secured online service that houses all your passwords. So for us, we're just dealing with so much like data, like logins to bank accounts or credit cards. Because again, we manage that for a lot of people, and we back up full disclosure here. We use best practices. We get read-only access, multi-factor authentication. But suffice to say, clients are saying, hey, I've created a bank login for you. You can't do anything with it other than download and view data, but you still have one.
Yeah.
So we got to do what we got to protect that. We use 1Password for that. So let me give you a perfect example.
And 1Password is the name of the app, not that you're not using 1Password that's the same. Just for people who are...
I know, right? Best practice, 1Password. Yeah. No, the number 1Password.com. Give you a real world example. Client, I'm in their Xero file, but I'm like, I need to look at something in their bank account. I hadn't messed with this client before. Most of the work had been done by the staff, but I said, I bet you if I just go to the whatever bank it was, Chase. If I go to Chase I'm logged into 1Password through the Chrome extension, it will pull up all the available Chase logins. And sure enough, so let me back up a little bit. In 1Password, you can set private passwords, like only available to you, and then shared. So amongst our team, we share lots of passwords. Well, sure enough, when I go into Chase, it's like that client's Chase. I'm like, oh, great, boom. What did that save me? Looking in the file, asking somebody on the team, just frictionless. I knew. I said, I bet you somebody shared it or saved it in the shared drive. Awesome. Like that, I will tell you, if you ask around our team, what's one of the biggest pieces of technology that we put in that we couldn't live without now, it is that.
Yeah. And I'll bring this from personal experience. You know when people need passwords the most? When you're on the beach.
Oh, right.
I'm telling you, like you try to take a vacation, everybody that hasn't talked to you in a year is going to call you and ask you what the password is to something.
Well, and you dealt with that a lot with doing the websites, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like I need to get in the back end of my website. I hadn't done it in a year. I need to update this product.
Yeah. Well, we used, there was a lot of ways we tackled that, but certainly a password manager was vital to what we did.
No, man, we love it. We
wouldn't have been able to survive without it.
I will say this too. What I like about having 1Password, it's kind of like somebody told me this once. It's the perception. So like one of the guy I used to work with said, I don't need all this insurance. His example was insurance, but I love being able to tell my clients I have all this insurance. The 1Password thing, we take every single password and we let them generate it. Well, what do they generate? That crazy string of numbers, letters. We don't have to remember it.
Right.
What it does is, so now I can go to my clients and say, we take best practice with passwords. We have unique, complex, and long passwords for everything we do. And we use multi-factor authentication. So now I can make the claim, which I think is right and valid.
Yeah.
We're doing our best to protect your data, best practices, industry standards. And so that's why I love having 1Password. Besides the functionality, it's the ability to say, no, I'm doing what I should be doing.
Yeah, it's super secure and it's super convenient.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a no-brainer every company's managing several apps.
Oh my gosh.
So, all right, last one.
G Suite. So, obviously you think, when I say G Suite, I mean Gmail. But what comes in the G Suite is the ability to use Google Drive, Google Docs, Sheets, and all the other, God, they have hundreds now.
Yeah, everything you
Google
need.
Keep, Google Slides,
Forms. Yeah.
I mean, Calendar.
I set up a Google form for somebody the other day. It automatically populates a spreadsheet. And you can add an extension that basically generates a PDF and sends that PDF with this was like a long registration, like 2-3 page registration for something. Generates a PDF, sends that PDF to both whoever's filled out the form and the admin.
Right.
Super easy. All included in their G Suite subscription.
Yeah, one thing, let's back up a little bit because I'm sure people are thinking like these are all SaaS apps. And it's funny, I said SaaS today to my wife and she's like, what do you keep talking about SaaS? Software as a service.
Right.
Kind of the known acronym, but if you hadn't heard that, that's what it means. So let's real quick pricing. Xero, anywhere from $11 to $60 a month. Most people need the $11 or the $32.
Yeah, I think the breaking is invoicing.
That's right. So if you need over 20, I think it's 20 invoices, what they call early growing and established. 11, I might butcher this, $11, $32, and 63, something like that. Kind of think 10, 30, 60. Gusto, $39 a month, plus $6 per employee at what's called their core package. Obviously, it goes up. One thing we hadn't even talked about Gusto, they have HR services. So if you get a higher level plan, like I think there's core, complete, and concierge, you get access to HR professionals. How about the question about, can we ask if you can get vaccinated? If you have to get vaccinated, like it's popular right now.
Sure.
Like, can we ask this question to an employee? Or what about go to them, HR specialists? I don't know the answer to that, and I don't even want to dabble in that. So $39 plus $6 per employee. I think 1Password is $5 per month per year. $5 per month per user. So for me, well worth it. And then G Suite is $6 per month per user. So but G Suite, I love we do lots of things with it. Obviously, it does our email. We use the shared calendar. So for us, like we have an email address called team@mire.group. We use a lot of things where we want to see visibility amongst all of us. We shared all of our calendars to to the team calendar. So it's like, hey, I ever want to book a meeting, let me see if Quentin's available. Just go to the team calendar. I know if he's there or not. Also, it's discreet in that it doesn't tell me what he's doing. Like, I don't want people knowing exactly what. I just want them to know I'm not in the office. Yeah. Like, people have personal stuff. You don't need to know why I'm out 10 to 12. You just need to know I'm out. So we like that. And then what we
getting a pedicure.
I mean, who cares? You know, I mean,
right.
You know, how do you think I look this good?
Feet.
That's right. And then what we really like, which we started doing, was we started embedding Google Sheets links in different software. So, for instance, we use Teamwork as our project management software. And there'll be things like we need to collaborate on. We put it in Teamwork, which is where we're doing all of our work generally. But there'll be a link, and because it's shared amongst our whole team, we can go and update that link. So, like, for instance, our weekly meeting agenda, little list of client deliverables, like due date stuff, we use it for that. And so just the ability, the fact that it's a link, it's a spreadsheet. Like, I don't think people realize, if you don't use these things, you don't realize Google Sheets is like Excel in a web browser.
Right.
It's super powerful. Like, now, could you, I don't know all the functionality. I mean, maybe there's a high level analytics and things you can't do. But for the other 99% of the things you want to do, you can do them in a web browser. Right. That's really powerful to me. And the fact that I can share that URL, make it visible to, this guy and that girl, but not this one and that one. I can collaborate with clients in it. Like, just very powerful. So those are our 4.
Yeah.
Xero, Gusto, 1Password, G Suite.
Good deal. Well, look, if you're starting a business or have a business and you're not sold on those 4 apps, there's nothing we can say
right.
to change your mind.
That's right.
But no, those are great tools. They can definitely change the way you do business. Honestly, change your work life.
Absolutely.
Whole situation.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, if you want more information, always go to Mire.group. You can find Marcus there, schedule some time with him, as well as find all the other episodes and resources there. So, as always, go to Mire.group, and we'll see you
next time. Yep. Take care.